All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple reminders. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those in by clicking that Q&A or chat section in the lower portion of your control panel. Feel free to chat between yourselves as well throughout. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you'd like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of any others, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Libby to get us started.
Hello, and thank you, Shelby. Today I will be digging into navigating fad diets, and I am very excited to dive in. With so much information out there about diets, I hope today to help sort you through some of that. Before things get on their way with this webinar, I want to preface this by saying everybody and every body is different. What works for one person won't necessarily work for another, even those that are siblings. To be able to start navigating these waters, we need to first discuss what fad diets are. I find the definition from Cleveland Clinic to be very encompassing of what they all include. They define it as eating plans that are often promoted as the best or fastest approach to losing weight. They sound like a newly discovered hack that promises a better, healthier you. Take a moment and drop in the comments what you think of after hearing that definition. Fad diets come in many forms, some that you may easily recognize, and some you may not. Let's go over some of the well-known diets quickly to help give examples. The first is arguably one of the biggest fad diets, keto. Keto is a low-carb diet of about 50 grams of carbs a day. Atkins is also a low-carb diet, but Atkins focuses more on high protein compared to keto. Along those same lines is the gluten-free diet. As it sounds, this is where you eliminate gluten, which is a protein found in the wheat plant and some other grains. Gluten is a decently common allergy among us today. There are quite a few people for medical safety who have to cut out gluten from their diet. However, there are a lot of people who are allergic to it, cutting it out, mostly due to thinking it is a cleaner form of dieting or eating. Vegan diet has blown up in the nutrition world as a fad diet to lose weight in the past years. Now, being vegan is eliminating all animal products, such as eggs, meat, cheese, etc. It has been around for many years, and many people do it for many reasons, especially humanitarian-wise. It falls under fad diets because it has blown up as a quick way to lose weight. Carnivore diet is another one peeping a lot of interest recently. The carnivore diet, as it sounds like from the name, is restricted to basically just meat and animal products such as eggs and dairy. The last one we will touch on is low fat, which again, as it sounds, is a diet focused on low fat foods and overall low fat intake. These are just a handful of fad diets out there. There are maybe many more that you have heard about. Discussing the different types is not the focus of this webinar though, but I wanted to bring up a few examples to show you. I want to bring up the reality behind these fad diets. Any guesses? That is that fad diets don't work. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time when I was doing said fad diet. Well, don't worry, I will get into that. To start, fad diets do not focus on lifestyle habits and changes to create weight loss. They focus on fast results because that is what sells. Getting those fast results do not stem from lifestyle habits or changes. They stem from dramatic changes like cutting intake calorically wise way down or cutting out food groups completely from your diet despite no allergy. When you focus on these quick, big results and not lifestyle changes, it makes it hard to keep up with those changes you've made. They are not sustainable over time. Therefore, you end up going back to old behaviors. And this creates the dieting cycle, which we will discuss later on. With diets, you create a false sense of success. For a small while, you lose weight, but since it is in those unsustainable ways, as mentioned before, you tend to end up going back to old habits and gaining the weight back. In fact, research has shown that many gain the weight back plus more. Diets can restrict or remove categories of food from your nutritional intake. Our bodies need different types of food to provide it with the different nutrients it needs to fully function. Each food group gives us a huge variety of nutrients. Cutting off a whole food group can cut off those nutrients. Therefore, your body can be affected in many ways. 1, it can lower your vitamin levels. 2, it can affect your hormone levels. And 3, it can affect your body being able to function. Example time. Let's talk keto for a minute. Our body needs carbohydrates as it is the body and brain's main source of fuel to function. It is one of the 3 macronutrients our body needs. Macronutrients are labeled so because they are needed in a greater amount, which is where the macro in macronutrient comes from. The keto diet has people eating around 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. It is shown that our brain needs 130 grams a day to function properly. So being on keto diet causes a huge deficit in carbohydrates for our brain and can cause things like brain fog, lack of energy, and focus. Low fat is another one. It lowers our fat intake, which is another one of those 3 macronutrients. A low-fat diet can also put people at risk for not giving their body enough fat, which is a beneficial thing for hormone health. Both examples can also create what we like to refer to as food noise. Food noise is when our brain seems to keep us focused on food. You can be working all day long and seem to always start drifting away and thinking of food. No matter what you do, your mind wanders, and food comes to the forefront. This happens a lot when our body is deprived of some type of food, but it can also happen when we deprive our food just overall of caloric intake. Our bodies are so smart and use food noise to help signal us the lack there is in hopes that we will give in to the food noise and give the body what it needs. This happens, as I said, when we restrict, whether that's certain types of foods or the overall amount. A big reason that diets don't work is money. The diet industry is a billion-dollar industry. It relies on people yo-yo dieting, aka the dieting cycle we will touch on in a minute. If people don't, they wouldn't be making the billions they are. They don't care about the long-term results. They just want to profit. They want those quick results that are going to sell because we as humans want quick results, and that's what they deliver. They find something that'll give us those quick results that they can sell to us, but don't look at the long term. What happens years down the road to the people that they show on TV or social media? In reality, the results don't last. But this is what makes them the money. They get the results at first, so it sells. However, the results stop after the person stops the fad diet or their product, and the person then goes back to their product or the old behavior or fad diet to get those results they desired. They spend more money, and therefore the diet industry makes more money. The diet industry thrives off of diets not working. These are some major reasons why fad diets don't work, especially if you're looking at long term. Now I want to touch on what happens when you start a fad diet. you most likely will start what we like to refer to as the dieting cycle. The diagram on the screen gives us a visual image of what the dieting cycle is.
No, you're fine.
I want to take a moment to break it down. The first part of the dieting cycle is dieting temptation. This is the catalyst starting the notion of dieting. This can come from a comment on your weight from your mom, a friend starting a diet,
You're fine.
your pants fitting too tight, not feeling comfortable in a swimsuit on your summer vacation, and so on. If you want to, feel free to share what started your journey, do so in the comments. Some of you may have similar ones, some of you may have different ones. The second part is restricting. This can be restricting calories, food groups, or both. The example on the graph on the screen is I shouldn't have blank because it's not healthy and I'm on a diet. This leads to part 3, which is cravings and excessive thought. This is craving cake because you forbid yourself to have it. This can also be where all you can think about is cake at your niece's graduation party while everyone else around is talking to you. Your mind is not focused on the conversation, but on what it would be like to have a piece of cake. Those thoughts and cravings lead us to the fourth part, overeating and binging. The cravings and thoughts become too much. You become too hungry. The cravings too overwhelming. You crack. You give into those desires. However, you end up going overboard and eating too much and binging. It is hard to control yourself as you give in. Before you know it, instead of one slice of cake, you've had 3 or 4. Instead of a bowl of chips, you have a full bag. This causes number 5, guilt and shame. We feel shame, guilt, embarrassment, and even disgust with what we did. And that shame and guilt lead us to try dieting and therefore start the dieting cycle all over again. Take a moment. Do you feel like you're in the dieting cycle right now? Can you pinpoint what stage you are in? Perhaps not now, but maybe you were at one point. How did you feel? Do any of you feel stuck? If so, this next part should hopefully help. We are going to dive into some nutritional and lifestyle health tips that are not bad diets to help. The first is don't listen to everything you hear, especially on social media. Anyone can put stuff on the internet, doesn't mean it is true. Do you remember something maybe you saw on the internet that you knew for sure wasn't true? It is important to educate yourself. Make sure to check sources and not take everything at face value. There is so much out there when it comes to nutrition and health. Please take a moment to not just believe whatever you hear or see, especially on apps like TikTok. Now, that isn't to say there isn't good, valuable, truthful information out there on the web, because there is. We just need to be careful of what is what's real and what's not. Number 2 is don't cut full food groups out of your diet just to lose weight. As I mentioned earlier, our body needs a huge variety of nutrients to run properly. Getting a variety of foods help us to get all the nutrients our body requires. Cutting out certain foods, or especially food groups, can lead to deficiencies in certain nutrients. For example, cutting out dairy products can lead to a calcium deficiency and therefore cause osteoporosis. I want to make sure to mention that if you are allergic to something, that is different. Medically, it is unsafe to eat something you are allergic to. However, you need to get those nutrients in other forms. For example, those that are allergic to seafood shouldn't just cut out all protein. They can cut out seafood, but get in protein from other sources, like beans or beef. Another piece is when focusing on health and weight loss is to make sure to fuel your body enough to function and run. Our bodies have what is called a BMR, which is the basal metabolic rate. This is the amount of energy our body uses to just exist. If you laid in bed, not moving a single muscle, our bodies can use somewhere between 900 to 1500 calories, depending on the person, not including all the other stuff we do, like movement, digestion. We need to make sure we are not depriving our bodies. We need to fuel it enough to meet our requirements, but still less than the energy we are burning when it comes to weight loss.
Yeah, I'll be in touch.
This goes to the next tip.
Send out-
1200 calorie total daily intake is not enough for an adult. 1200 calories total daily intake will not supply our body with enough energy. Cleveland Clinic recommends for adult women a minimum of 1600 for sedentary lifestyles and about 2400 for those with active lifestyles. For men, they recommend about 2000 to 2800 depending on the activity level of said individual. Then next, we want to make sure to address that everybody is different, as mentioned at the beginning of the webinar. Therefore, our nutrition and diet should be tailored individually to us. My body is different than my sister's, and yours is different than your coworker or the person you see on TV. We could all eat a can of green beans, and our body will process them just a little bit differently. We need to be mindful of that. We need to make sure that we are thinking about the fact that we are individuals and unique, and focus on your individual health and not compare it to everyone around you. A huge piece when it comes to overall health and wellness is balance, especially blood sugar balance, which comes from food and nutritional balance. When it comes to nutritional balance, a great place to start is by getting in a variety of foods. It also comes down to pairing those foods together to make balanced meals and snacks. When you look at your plate for a meal, what is on there? Is there a balance of the different food groups? Start at meals getting a carbohydrate, protein, healthy fat, and color. For example, whole grain oatmeal, Greek yogurt, strawberries, and peanut butter. For snacks, having a carbohydrate and protein, like whole wheat crackers and string cheese. Having balance helps in many ways when it comes to health and weight. Continuing on to the next tip. One that has many benefits is exercise. Exercise can help with so many things. One is weight, whether that is weight management or weight loss. It can help with strength and muscle memory too. Exercise can help keep our muscles strong and help us to be able to continue to do things like walk or open that stubborn jar of pickles without having to ask for help. Exercise can also help with mood. Exercise creates endorphins, which are a natural pain reliever and mood enhancer released by the brain. This can help us feel better. Not to mention, if we feel better due to exercise and those endorphins, we will make better choices nutritionally too. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, also known as the CDC, recommends for adults to get 150 minutes a week, what is typically, as you hear, broken down into 30 minutes 5 times a week. Now, 5 days a week, 30 minutes is what is the typical recommendation, but it doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Tailor it to your lifestyle. For me, I do 3 days a week for 50 minutes because that's what works best for my schedule. Maneuver it however it's going to work best for you, whether you're a busy mom, a busy travel CEO. Comment in the chat some of what you like to do for your exercise structure and bounce ideas off one another, from busy mom to busy mom or third shift worker to third shift worker. Sleep is another important aspect when it comes to health and overall weight. Getting in proper sleep can help regulate those fullness and hunger hormones called leptin and ghrelin. It can help us not to get those signals thrown off, can cause us to eat more. It can also help us with muscle growth and repair, which is huge, especially for those that are working out and exercising. Proper sleep can also give us more energy, which in turn makes it easier to work out and exercise. When we sleep better too, we're also able to make better decisions, like better nutritional choices. And we also, when we have better nutritional choices, won't feel so tired and groggy because we'll have proper nutrition. And also, better sleep helps with not feeling so tired and groggy too, and hitting that afternoon slump. Stress management is a great tip too. Dealing with and properly managing stress can help us not to let our cortisol or our stress hormone get out of whack, which can help with overall health. Great stress management techniques include walks, meditation, journaling, deep breathing exercises, calming tea, listening to music, massages, talking to support system, doing some type of hobby like fishing or puzzles, using a stress ball, etc. If you would like to, comment in the chat your favorite go-to stress management technique. A final piece we want to lay out is checking in with your primary care or medical professional when it comes to big changes in your health, such as diet. This goes back to that everybody is different. Each person has a unique medical history, and we need to keep that in mind. Depending on your medical history, certain things can be more harmful to you than to those who don't have your history. For example, a person with PCOS or a person with diabetes has a few more regulations and cautions than those that don't. I also always recommend talking to your doctor since they are a medical professional and have a vast knowledge and can guide you. Don't also forget though that you have us, Health Check 360, as a free resource. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Now, we have discussed a lot of information, so I feel it is a good time to do a summary and wrap up of all the pieces we have dove into. In this world, there are many fad diets going around. A fad diet is an eating plan that often is promoted as the best or fastest approach to losing weight. They can sound like a newly discovered hack that promises a better, healthier you. Fad diets don't give you long-term and sustainable results. This is because they don't focus on lifestyle habits and only focus on the results then and there. Diets often cause food noise and creates a negative or harmful relationship between us and food. Diets can mess with your hunger and fullness hormones. Fad diets can also get us to restrict certain food groups to lower than what our body needs to properly function. Fad diets and diets in general can lead us into the dieting cycle. This cycle has 5 parts: dieting temptation, restriction, craving and excessive thoughts, and overeating and binging, and then guilt and shame, all which lead us to starting the cycle all over again. There are many things that are not diets that can help with health and weight. Getting in a variety of food, getting a balance of food, and really focusing on getting all the different food groups in. So this comes from those balanced meals we talked about: carbohydrate, protein, healthy fat, and color. Getting proper exercise and movement is huge. You need nutrition and movement together to help with overall health. And to remember that our bodies are all different. Therefore, nutrition should be different and individually tailored to us. Nutrition is not cut and dry. And to remember to get proper sleep and focus on stress management. And lastly, the diet industry makes millions of dollars off of diets failing and want you to keep you in that cycle. I hope this is helpful. Now I'll turn over to Shelby for closing items and then questions.
Thank you so much, Libby. Like she said, we'll get to some questions here in a second, but just a preview of the webinars coming up. Next month, we have building a balanced life. Pretty much time management skills is what we'll be discussing most, which I know all of us, including myself, can use. And then in November, Libby will be back and we'll be talking about emotional eating, breaking the cycle. That's going to be a big one. So make sure you tune in there. If you do have lifestyle rewards, if you get points for watching the webinars, these are the questions that could pop up. Some of you might have questions. Some of you might not have to answer questions. So I'll give you a second to screenshot if you want. Otherwise, these slides will be on, the slide deck will be on our blog post. So you'll be able to download those as well. And then, of course, we are on social media, which we don't want too much of, right? But we don't want to listen to all of the food hacks on there, but some of them are good. But we have good ones, I promise. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those good places. And then you can watch this webinar and any past webinars and register for any upcoming webinars on our blog. So the website is there. And then if you do want to chat about this type of thing or any other health related topic with one of our health coaches, give us a call. You can schedule a time. You can shoot us an email. We would love to talk about your individual eating habits and what we can do. Because like Libby said, everybody's different. You have to try different things and find what works for you. And we want to be there to help you answer those questions as well.